Uh, well, at first, let's, sorry about that, Mark. Let the record show that all council members are present except Kevin Pelletier. He's away. He called me and let me know that he wasn't going to be here tonight. Next, we'll go to prayer. Tony's not here. Mark, you.
We pray for our country at all times, that all citizens are safe, healthy, and happy. We pray for wisdom for all those who guide and govern. Help this government body in every situation to know and to do the things that are right and just, with soundness of judgment in making vital decisions. We pray for the peacemakers, that the holy life-giving spirit may dwell in their hearts, and the barriers of fear, suspicion, and hatred may fall. This we pray to the Holy Father. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, we'll go to public comment period. If anybody has anything to add tonight, stand up, state your name.
Gary Searway, long-term citizen of Fort Fairfield. Originally from Fairfield. I want to thank the council for the opportunity to present my thoughts tonight. Okay? I have taken the time to review the annual report and the annual report before that, and the one before that. There are some very disturbing trends that I want to bring the council awareness to. Maybe you are all aware of them, maybe not, but I think it's my duty to identify them. As an example, disturbing trends. Long-term debt as of July 1, 2019, $732,000 some more dollars. Long-term debt as of July 1st, 21, $2,396,000 some odd dollars. Red flag goes up to me, and it did. Secondly, net worth of the town of Fort Fairfield. July 1st, 2019, $6,564,000. So what's it? Net worth as of July 1st, 2020, $4,268,000. That's my bill. A difference, $2,293,000. Net worth down in that period, 2 years. Red flag goes up. What the hell's going on? In addition to that, there's some other issues too, and one is short-term debt for the same period of time. I'll find my space, my place there. Short-term debt. As of right now, to my knowledge, we owe Aristic Waste Systems $1 million. It's due February 28th. I hope the town has enough resources to pay that debt that was originally taken out as a tax anticipation. In addition to that, we also have another tax anticipation note due with Katahdin Trust. I don't have the due date. $560,000 tax anticipation. Again, I don't know if the town has the money to pay those. Only the treasurer and the manager can tell you folks whether you have the money and pay those debts when they come due. I don't really think you do, but nonetheless, that's something for you folks to think about and to consider as a challenge. Other items that concern me is that the administrative reserves were improved by moving the revolving loan fund to administrative reserve. That was a lot of money. I have the figure here somewhere. But also a red flag to me, administrative reserves were used to pay part of a piece of equipment for the highway department, public works department. No question, we may have needed that piece of equipment. That department had enough reserves, in my opinion, to pay for that piece of equipment. Why should it come out of administrative reserve? It's not an administrative function. Also, administrative reserve paid part of the roof repair on the library at $15,000. Come out of administrative reserve. I don't know how administrative reserves are or how they're supposed to function, but I do know that in total reserves at the end of the year, last year, all departments, $757,000 in reserves. That's a lot of money. These things and other things raise red flags to me. Another thing that raised a red flag to me when I looked at the past due taxes. What stands out? Re-energy stands out. Both real estate, personal property. $462,000 total. I've spoken with Ella. She says she's doing what she's supposed to do to try to collect them. And I appreciate that. Thank you, Ella, for doing that. But money's got to come. When I look at Re-Energy, when I Googled it, Re-Energy seems to be doing pretty well, thank you. They're now into the waste systems, and they're going to be doing waste systems. They're going to collect the waste, to burn, to make a lot of electricity and all. That's great. But they owe this town $462,000. The normal channels don't collect it, and I honestly think that the council ought to instruct management to hire a lawyer to go after them. They have the wherewithal to pay it. We've got to make it tough on them to make sure that they pay it. In summary, this council plays a very important role in the management of our affairs for the town of Fort Fairfield. Should not be business as usual. These trends that I've outlined, you can look at them. They're all in written reports. And they're alarming to me. They're really alarming. If I were to lend the money to the town of Fort Fairfield, I'd look at the trends that's going on. I'd look at the net worth going down. I'd look at the debts going up. I'd say, whoa, what's going on there? Something's wrong. You people approve these expenses. The manager brings them to you for your actions. And it seems to me like you're rubber stamping a lot of stuff and that you should not be rubber. You need to challenge some of the things going on. So I implore you to look carefully in the future about what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, how you're going to pay for it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Gary. Anybody else?
Billy Joe Sharp. I'm a resident. I just wanted to, I missed the last meeting. I was not able to come. But I did watch the meeting live, and I did find it very frustrating that this council, or at least part of this council, continues to want a budget advisory board or committee. If you look around and behind me, you're gonna see your advisory board right here within your department heads, your staff. These are the people that work day in and day out to inform the council of their needs financially, inform council what they expend via the warrants that you sign, and they work diligently to stay under or within their budgets. And they also search endlessly to find grants to help offset their expenses. So to say you want a budget advisory board is telling town staff and departments that you have zero confidence in them as professionals. And I think it's very, very sad. We are 2 council meetings in and already you want to change the charter. Why? This charter has worked successfully for many, many years, and it has been tested and proven to work. The only change I see here are 2 new counselors. And one of whom was already said in open session, they have no budget experience. Well, do you think anybody else on the council had any municipal budget experience prior to serving on the council? No. It comes from speaking to your officials, your department heads, and your staff that supports those departments. You learn from them, not from a few ill-informed citizens that have no experience in municipal budgets and municipal budgets. Municipal budgets are 100% different from any other budget, and they must be treated and formulated as such within the statutes of the state and local charters, if any. And I strongly feel from past experience and even other municipalities, when I worked here, you know what's going on in neighboring municipalities. You know what goes on in their council meetings, their select board meetings. Some of them aren't pretty. And I do know from these other towns that people will leave. Your staff is gonna leave, your department heads are gonna leave. They're not going to want to be here. And to be successful, we need to have successful department heads and staff for our citizens. Unless you show them that you're listening and hear them, these are good people. Don't allow them to make the decision to take their talents elsewhere, because then we will be the place that nobody wants to work for, and our citizens are going to be the ones that are going to suffer. You were elected by the people. You have to support all of the people and not just a few. And as the saying goes, don't fix it if it ain't broke. Thank you.
Thank you, Billy Joe.
I think Billy Joe stole my speech, but that's okay. I'm going to speak it anyway. I'm Jennifer Genzel. My husband and I are tax-paying residents for the last 16 years. Last month, there was a proposal for a budget advisory committee. That's a cop-out. Creating an advisory committee is a cop-out from the responsibilities that you were elected to do. You don't need an advisory committee because you're supposed to be that committee. You were elected to be the committee just as all of the selectmen and town councilors for the last 66 years before you have been. I listened to last year's public hearings and saw the postings around town professing that you knew how budgets work. And last month, at town council meeting, you stated you don't know how budgets work. If you don't know how municipal budgets work, then on what basis do you feel that you have the right to make a historic change to how something is done without putting in the effort to learn what you're changing? For the last 16 years, I've heard the statement that people from away come here and make changes to your way of life and how things have always been done. Now, because you haven't taken the time to learn how it's been done previously, you are doing the same thing. Well, I'm one of those people from away, and now I'm asking you to have patience and learn how the full budget process works before making any change. Before moving here, I too owned a business, and managed other people's businesses. This is not a business budget. Take what you know about a business budget and throw it out the window because it means nothing. Unlike a business, municipal governments are not about making a profit. The taxes and revenues are to provide current services and to plan for new services that are needed by all people utilizing our town, including renters, businesses, and visitors. Services that the majority of our citizens want and are willing to pay for. And your municipal reserves should be viewed like a 401k retirement fund for the town. They are investments for the future needs of the town services and the buildings. If you don't invest, you won't have a net worth. Put your minds to the task of learning how a tax base works. How providing good, solid services and planning for future services draws in families and people who are doctors, nurses, veterinarians, and other professionals and businesses that are so desperately needed, not just in Fort Fairfield, but in all of Aroostook County. How those people in turn increase your tax base, which helps lower taxes for everyone. This is economics, not business. Learn how regular tax assessments keep the playing field even for all and establishes a solid record for future assessments. I'm asking you to show yourselves to be the pillars of our community that you were elected to be. Learn from your fellow counselors that have been here numerous times before. Use the resources available from Maine Municipal Association, and most of all, working with Ms. Powers to learn what you don't understand. Talk to her, just as you do the townspeople. Come in and see her. And yes, most definitely, ask all the questions you want to ask. Put all this effort of recreating the wheel into learning how the original wheel works.
Thank you.
Bob, if I may?
Yes.
And I don't disagree with you on a lot of factors, but some I do. Number one, you say talk to the town manager. I formally asked for a meeting with the town manager to talk about some of the items I talked about.
Excuse me, Chairman.
Thanks, ma'am.
And
We're not supposed to have follow-up and normally I wouldn't say anything, but this gentleman was already spoken to by the police department and is why I'm not having an individual meeting with him. And I will not be discussing that any further during council.
Okay, you can address your issues, Gary, but not with any. including Mrs. Powell.
I asked for a meeting on February 2nd to go over some of the issues I brought forth tonight. I was told she would check her schedule. Check the schedule of the
Again, we're not
attorney.
discussing
No.
this
The
tonight.
attorney in question. And
I
therefore,
gotta stop you, Gary. You can't interfere with any decisions with Mrs. Powers. You can
Okay.
relate to the council with,
all right, I want to let the council know that I've tried that route and it didn't work.
okay,
Therefore, I was tempted and followed through with my presentation tonight. You people are the ones that can make those decisions and need to. And I don't agree that just running the town business is not a business. It is a business. It is a business. We're not in the business to make a profit, but it is a business. Income, expenses, that adds up to business. Thank you.
thank you, Gary. Anybody else? All right, we'll move on to license, correspondence and reports,
There's none at this time to report.
license and permits.
None at this time.
We got the financial report.
Checking account balance as of January 31st, 2022 was $1,312,189.34, and Machias savings is $5,000. Excise collected in January was $33,761.42, compared to last year at $32,561.12. As of January 31st, 2022, uncollected real estate taxes for 2021 were $1,695,462.21, compared to last year at $1,735,303.57. Our 45-day foreclosure notices for 2019 real estate taxes were mailed on January 21st, 2022. We sent 34 notices to property owners for a total of $168,621.28 in unpaid taxes, which includes re-energy in the amount of $150,978.19. Compared to last year, we sent out 36 notices for a total of $26,650.80. The major difference in dollars is for re-energy in the amount of $150,978.19. We received January revenue sharing in the amount of $69,721.09 on January 20th, 2022. Total revenue sharing received to date is $483,686.76. We are at 56.05% versus the budget of 58.33%, which is down $19,676.47.
Thank you. We'll move on to the AWS report.
Good evening, councilors.
Good evening.
We last met on January 28th. We had some discussions on an unaudited financial close of 2021. And we finished a little bit above, ahead of budget for schedules. And we credit most of that to the uptick in recycling prices this year. Really, we saw cardboard in the beginning of 2020 at $20 a ton. We sold cardboard for $150 a ton last week.
Wow.
So I know it's an inconvenience for people to put cardboard separate from our goods, but it does keep our overall cost of landfill down for citizens, so it's worth doing it. We also had a record $150 a ton paid for scrap metal, which was another good boost for our budget. So going into 2022, we're in good shape. We've got a little bit left to carry forward. Mark also has, we all talked about our capital investment plan for our equipment. That's our number one expense on the landfill. That big equipment just crushes the trash and compacts it. And we just revisited a 5-year plan, and we're right on target. We put about $100,000 a year away into that reserve account. Although that reserve account may sound like a big number, when we look at our bulldozer costing $300,000 and our compactor costing $1.2 million, we need to have a good capital reserve account. So, that was about all that we had, other than the fact that Mark's contract came due to the landfill. We have a 3-year contract with Mark. So we met in executive session, we renewed his contract, and he made a note to us that he was going to be planning on retiring within 5 years. So he's going to start working with us as a board to look at a nutrition plan. We've been very fortunate to have Mark at the landfill for the last 20 years. He's done an exceptional job up there, and finding somebody with both his demeanor and his skills is going to take 5 years probably to do.
Yeah.
So we appreciate the heads up from him. Is there any questions that we got?
Touch a little bit on the Prescott landfill.
Sure. In us reviewing, when we merged with Presque Isle, they were using a different engineering firm than we were to do their assessments. We had our company that does the filtration landfill do the Presque Isle landfill's overhead pitches this year to see what they left in reserves, just to compare them so that we were kind of working with apples to apples. And our engineers thought that really there was not as much time left in the Presque Isle landfill as we thought, which actually is better for the landfill as a business to be run in just one place. So it looks like the Presque Isle landfill will be ready to be capped within years instead of 3 years. So we've been working on a plan to take some of the trash that's going into Presque Isle and shuffling it back to Fort Fairfield. In the original merger, we moved a lot of our pine tree waste to Presque Isle so we could fill it quicker. This way here, it's going to give us some time to do some development plans for Presque Isle. Presque Isle does their trash different than Fort Fairfield does. Presque Isle has haulers that are licensed to haul in the town, and then they pay Presque Isle for the tonnage coming in, as opposed to the way we do it. So they need to work a plan out, because at the end of that year, those haulers won't be home to Presque Isle anymore. They'll be home to Fort Fairfield. So that's kind of been Presque Isle's ball in court. We started some brief discussions on that. We really kind of ran out of time in our last meeting to open a big discussion on that, and Ms. Powell was needing to be there, so we decided we'd wait until next week to open that conversation up and talk about what we're going to be doing there. But I think they've got some pretty good ideas, some pretty good plans, and like I said, in the long run, it's better for us. I do run out of one landfill.
The main plan when we merged together was to get Prescott closed.
The main plan was to close the hill that they had actually had opened. And then that way we could go back to Fort Fairfield and run most of it there. And then remember, Mitch, we've got 200 licensable acres in Fort Pickle. They've got 600 licensable acres in Prescott. They've hardly touched the first 15%. So the long range plan, 2079, we could be back in the Prescott for a long time. So I think it all kind of is going as planned. I think it was good due diligence on Mark's part to try to get both engineers together on the same table. And at least we know what's coming. And Prescott is pretty comfortable. They've got a good idea. So, thank you all very much.
Thank you, Steve. We'll go to old business, budget committee ordinance.
Pursuant to 30-A MRS subsection 3001 and subsection C-15 of the Town of Fort Fairfield Charter, an ordinance providing for establishment of a budget advisory committee, composition, appointment, qualifications, terms, vacancies, officers, meetings, quorum, procedure, powers, duties, authority, recommendations, and official cooperation. The composition, appointment, qualifications, terms, and vacancies are as follows. The committee shall consist of 5 to 7 members who shall be appointed by the town council. Prospective members shall be registered voters of the town and shall submit an application expressing their desire to volunteer or to serve. Town officials or employees and their spouses may not serve on the committee. Members shall serve for serve for terms of 2 years. For transition purposes, the initial term shall be staggered so that as nearly an equal number of terms shall expire annually. Vacancies shall be filled within 30 days by appointment of the council for the unexpired term. The officers, meetings, quorum, and procedure are as follows. The committee shall annually elect chairman and a secretary from among its members. The chairman shall call meetings as necessary or when so requested by a majority of members of the council. A quorum necessary to conduct business shall consist of at least a majority of members. The chairman shall preside at all meetings. The secretary shall maintain a record of all proceedings, including all correspondence of the committee. All meetings and records shall be subject to the Maine Freedom of Access Act, 1 MRS subsection 401-410. The committee may adopt rules of procedure not inconsistent with this ordinance. The powers and duties, authority, recommendations, and official cooperation are as follows. The committee shall have the following powers and duties: to review and make recommendations to the council on the annual town budget as proposed by the town manager, and to review and make recommendations to the council on capital expenditures as proposed by the town manager, and to make such other recommendations on fiscal matters as the committee may from time to time deem advisable or as requested to do so by the council. The committee's authority shall be advisory only. The purpose and function of the committee is governed by the council, and it is directly responsible to the council. Any recommendations shall be provided to the council in writing. The town manager shall cooperate with and provide the committee with such information as may be reasonably necessary and available to enable it to carry out its functions under this ordinance. Recommendation is that council introduces the Budget Advisory Committee Ordinance 22-02 and directs staff to hold a public hearing on the ordinance on Monday, March 7th, 2022 at 12 noon in the council chambers of the Fort Fairfield Municipal Building.
Do we need a motion on that?
I motion that we accept that budget committee ordinance, budget advisory committee ordinance go to public hearing.
We got a motion, do we have a second? So if we don't have a second,
As far as I know, we don't even need a vote because we've already introduced it. And from reading the charter, I've introduced it. And we've gone through the channels to get appropriate direction from the town attorney, and now we need to go to the public hearing. It says nowhere that we need to vote on it.
If there's no second to the motion dies.
No motion required.
No motion required.
Introduction of both ordinance.
So at this time, without a second on the motion to vote, and I see that, yes, we voted to have it looked at as far as our town attorney.
Well, are you gonna follow the charter or not? This is what I'm supposed to do. I introduced it last time. It was,
But there's no second, so the motion dies.
Yeah,
That's the way
there's
it
no
works.
second.
I don't really need to make a motion right now. I asked the town manager a few minutes ago before the meeting started. And we decided that she would read this proposal. And she told me then that she assumed that it was introduced at the last meeting, which I did. And at that point, we voted on it, so that as far as I'm concerned legally, there's no discussion. This has come back, we need to go to public hearing, period.
But there has to be a motion in order to have. the
No.
public hearing.
No.
He's correct. All he has to do, I'm reading the recommendation, all he has to do is introduce it, and it's been introduced. The initial vote on after the committee will take place after, but Jim's right, that all he has to do is introduce it for it, and so it's introduced.
Right.
We've done what we need to
No
do.
action is needed.
So I would like to make a recommendation that the public hearing be held at another time, though, that more people are able to go, because 12 o'clock in the afternoon is not something that a lot of citizens are going to be able to
That,
attend.
and I have no problem with that. That's just traditionally when they hold their public ordinance hearings here, going way back. So if you'd like to recommend a different time, you can certainly do that.
Recommend such a thought. Thank you, Jim, for getting me thinking.
Yes, well, I was reading fast and I,
All he has to do is introduce it.
all right, so we'll move on to, Recreation Department scoreboard update.
So if you read in the paperwork that was given to you, this is the scoreboard that was given to the engineering department at the University of Maine, Orono. And they are putting the scoreboard back to use. It's a very historic piece of our town, and we'll be able to have it back and use it in the gymnasium when it's finished. So just keeping you updated on that project. And the students, when it is finished, will be bringing it up and presenting it to
If there was
the town.
if there was an expense to have it done elsewhere, would it amount?
Thousands of them.
It would.
It doesn't cost us anything.
Okay, we'll move on to new business, opening of the Economic Development Board.
Ronald Jalbert III, the Chair of the Economic Development Board, has tendered his resignation as of January 28th, 2022. The Economic Development Board now has 2 vacancies available for application to join. The recommendation is that council accepts the resignation of Ronald Jalbert III.
Second,
We need a motion and a second. We'll have a vote. Melissa?
Aye.
Mitch?
aye.
Jim? And I vote aye. Fort Fairfield Fire Rescue ARPA request equipment.
Fort Fairfield Fire Rescue is requesting the use ARPA funds for the purchase of medical equipment to help extend the life of our current equipment, conduct more realistic trainings, and be prepared for multiple calls or patient scenarios. We are requesting the council approve the purchase of the Stryker Power Pro XT stretcher, a Stryker Stair Pro chair, stair chair, and a Zoll X cardiac monitor. Our current stretchers were refurbished when they were purchased and did not come with the option of the Stryker on-site annual maintenance plan and warranty. While these structures are working well, without the option of the annual maintenance, the expected lifespan of these structures is greatly reduced. Adding a third structure, which would include a 5-year warranty with annual on-site maintenance, would allow us to rotate structures and allow each structure to have less use, therefore extending the life of all structures in service. It would also allow us to have a backup structure in-house if we were to have a failure of one of the current structures. If this were to happen now, we would not be able to respond with one of our ambulances until we could send the structure away for repairs or purchase a replacement. The stair chair is another piece of equipment that sees frequent use and is essential to moving patients out of tight spots without risking the safety of our crew. Purchasing another stair chair would allow us to rotate our current stock to prolong their usable life, as well as add a 6-year maintenance warranty. It would allow for ambulance to remain in service if we had a malfunction, and also allow for first responders to have additional equipment for extrication when both ambulances are on calls. The cardiac monitor is one of the most essential pieces of equipment we have and is used on every call. Adding a third monitor would allow us to complete more in-depth trainings for staff without taking ambulances out of service. It would also allow us to have a monitor available when both ambulances are on calls and there is an additional call for service. This allows our responsibility to increase as well as the level of care able to be provided on additional calls. In addition to the benefits listed above, adding these 3 pieces of equipment would position Fort Fairfield Fire Rescue well, should the need to add an additional ambulance arise in the future. The equipment listed above is the costliest equipment needed outside of the vehicle purchase itself. The cost breakdown is as follows. The Stryker Power Pro XT MS stretcher with 5-year warranty is $26,587.80. The Stryker Stair Pro stair chair with 6-year warranty is $5,056.20. The Zoll X monitor with 3-year warranty is $41,623.80 for a total of $73,267.80. We would request that the council approve the town manager and fire department leadership to move forward with the purchase of the above listed equipment. The recommendation is that council allow us to use the ARPA funds for the purchase of this medical equipment so that we don't go back to the taxpayers and ask for that in the next year's budget and use the ARPA funds, which is part of our revenue, to do it. Otherwise, this will be presented in the budget.
Mr. Chair, I make a recommendation that we set the funds and utilize the other funds for this equipment.
I second that.
We've had a motion in a second. We'll vote.
Let's
Melissa?
discuss
Oh,
first.
wow.
Can we talk a little bit about the ARPA funds and the status of the ambulance and fire service right now? I know they have been generating more revenue recently. They've had a lot more calls. So I just want to touch on that and not rubber stamp this.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Good evening, council. So just to kind of touch base on that, as far as our revenue coming in, we don't have our flat numbers because of the way everything came from when we started the ambulance service in August of 2020 until now. So we didn't get like an end of year report. This is the first year that we'll have that trend set of what we'll be taking in. We did about 600 calls last year. It all depends on what we have for staff to send out. Okay, so to build out an EMT basic call, the mileage, and if it's a paramedic call, another mileage. If you have anything you'd like to put on that.
Just that it really, the number of calls we do, we only get paid for transporting calls. What we're finding is that the way our calls go, some days we may not have any calls, and then other days we have 6 calls that all happen within an hour and a half span. So there's lots of times we have crew members here that can go and do those calls, but we don't have an ambulance or we don't have the equipment that they need to be able to help those citizens or visitors or whoever it may be. And so they're not able to, we're not able to assist as fully as we should be able to, or we could be able to, which is why we're proposing this.
Like he said, more often than not, we're getting either a call, we have to have multiple ambulances on, or multiple patients, or we're getting multiple back-to-back. So this way, we can set up another piece of apparatus that we already have, and have some resources, as well as, like we stated in here, that we lose a stretcher right now, that ambulance is down, that's non-functional for us in the town, that's a huge risk for us just to have one ambulance, that's just not what we wanted to do for our citizens when we set out, so it'd be a huge gain for us to be able to go this route and make that happen.
And just a side note on the stretchers, not only is it every single patient that goes in the ambulance goes on the stretcher, and they're back ordered because there's a huge demand for medical supplies, obviously. So if we ordered it now, we're looking at a wait time. If we wait until one of our stretchers goes down or has a serious malfunction, we're looking at that same wait time or longer, but now we have one less ambulance.
Right.
And there's no way, it's a main EMS rule, you have to have a stretcher. So we can't run that ambulance without those. The same with the snare chair and the same with the cardiac monitor. All three of those items are required on every ambulance call, every response we go to. The big takeaway is it sets us up to handle the calls we're already getting. And again, it positions us, should the need arise, which is something else we'll talk to you later on about, for additional ambulances as well. We already have the really expensive things, the other things we keep in-house to restock our current ambulances anyway.
Right. Just to start that. Any other questions that we didn't cover on that? Okay. Thank you, Council. Andrew.
And can we also just discuss the ARPA funds being used versus it coming out of their department budget?
Yeah, so the ARPA funds is what was given to us through the American CARES Act. And that was put in, voted on by council to put into the revenue line. And under the standards for the federal government for ARPA funds, we can use that for general fund purposes. So any department can request use of the ARPA funds now from the council. And we have to use that by a certain date, and whatever we don't use, we would have to move that.
Okay, we all set? Any discussion? We'll go for a vote. Melissa?
Aye.
Mitch?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Next, we got the Public Works cat loader loss of replacement.
Background, recently the cat loader used by Public Works on a daily basis developed transmission issues to the point where the machine is not usable in its current state. The engine was replaced 2,000 hours ago with a manufactured cat engine, which should have a few thousand hours of service left. Discussion, although the loader has high hours, it still fills the need Public Works has for this piece of equipment. And given the cost of a new replacement loader, we think the best course of action is to have the transmission rebuilt by the manufacturer, which should give us many more years of service. The recommendation is town council approves the transfer of up to $20,000 from G13060-00 to E01082515 if needed. Public Works currently has enough in our parts repair and freight line of E-010825-15 to cover the cost of repairs, but in doing so will leave us lacking on that line with a considerable amount of winter left.
Knowing that reading your information, that is just an estimate that you have,
So
right?
make a motion
That is
first, and
correct.
then you can have
We
discussion.
have to have a motion
Okay.
first before we go into discussion.
I make a motion that we approve transferring the funds as requested.
I second that motion.
Okay, we'll, have a motion in a second. We'll, have discussion.
I noticed that it's an estimate, so they're gonna tear it apart before they give you a set quote, I assume.
That is correct. The estimate was between $20,000 and $30,000. The written estimate we had was just shy of $20,000. The reason why we're only asking for $20,000, up to $20,000, possibly out of our reserves, which I'll say represents 1/3 of the reserves that we have put away for equipment reserves. We have many more than 3 pieces of equipment that we could suffer a failure such as this on, which is why we need to have money in reserves at any given time. This isn't a need of Public Works, this is a need of the taxpayer. This piece of equipment represents safety, traveling up and down the road for every person in this room. Even if the repairs go up to $30,000, we've had a really good year on our parts repair and freight line, and the reason being is because of good planning. We've reused equipment that we've been able to get from the RMO to the police force, parts, used parts, that our mechanics have just done a great job really keeping that line low. It's at about 40% right now, whereas we should be around 58%. So we have some money there, a little bit of a buffer.
Yeah, on the price of that piece of equipment to replace it today would be in excess of.
$250,000.
There you go.
And I can say this, that in the northern climate, the equipment that you would replace it with brand new today, I'm not sure we want that piece of equipment.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go for vote. Melissa?
Aye.
Mitch? Jim?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Next, we got the minutes of January 19th, 2022, in our regular council meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the minutes of January 19th, 2022.
I second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. We'll have a vote. Melissa?
Aye.
Mitch?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Next, we got warrants 15 and 16.
Warrant number 15 in the amount of $145,969.76 was completed on January 19th, 2022. Warrant number 16 in the amount of $415,929.40 was completed on February 3rd, 2022. Please note that this warrant included $178,532.09 for February SAD 20 appropriation.
Mr. Chairman, make a motion that we approve the warrants as written.
I second that motion.
We had a motion and a second. We'll have a vote. Melissa?
Aye.
Mitch? Jim?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Other, we need a motion. to go to executive
Well, I
session.
have one thing for other,
All right.
and then, this is a letter from Phil Christensen to council, from the Fort Fairfield Quality of Place Council. Dear Robert, the directors of the Fort Fairfield Quality of Place Council thank the town council and town manager for recognizing our work through your presentation of the Spirit of America Award. We appreciate the support we have received from numerous town employees on many of our activities, including the acquisition, restoration, and sale of homes on Brunswick Avenue, Presque Isle Street, and Columbia Avenue, Fort Kids First College Planning Initiative, and our brochure Sharing the Road Safely, Amish horse-drawn vehicles and motor vehicles. We also want to acknowledge the outstanding involvement and support we have received for our most visible project, the Celebration of Lights, that was conceived by our retired director, Kim Jones. The participation of our Main Street businesses, our service organizations, the library team, the Frontier Heritage Historical Society, the Fort Fairfield Housing Authority, and numerous property owners has made this a true community effort. We welcome ideas for ways we can continue to enhance the quality of our life of our citizens. Sincerely, Phil Christensen, Secretary Treasurer, Fort Fairfield Quality of Place Council.
Okay, next we got executive session.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to go into executive session, MRSA 405, 6-2.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. We'll have a vote. Melissa?
Aye.
Mitch?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
And I vote aye. I want to thank everybody for coming.
Oh, yeah.